Hello, my name is Myriam Mompoint, and I teach humanities here at FSW. It's a digital public humanities project, so it is a website, and the website is going to be pretty extensive. We launched it last December, so it is still a work in progress. We are exploring the Florida archives, for example, and the Florida Memory site, which has photographs, for example, archival photographs that we draw from, looking at these different communities. We are also mapping these so that you can associate the community with the city and the location for that particular community. But we are also looking to have crowdsourcing so that people would be able to contribute both scholarly material, but also anecdotal stories that people may have about living in that particular city or growing up in that particular community. We are looking to add a podcast series as well, so that will add some depth to the project. It is a project that we are continually adding to as we learn more about the presence of the different communities here, as we get funding for the project, obviously, but also adding more and more functionality so that people can interact with the site with different modalities. So a web app, an RSS feed, and so on are in the works so that people will be able to access the site whether using their phones, on the computer, but also attending events. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and as many people know, New York is considered a melting pot. We have a lot of different ethnic groups. And so I came down to Florida in 2000 to pursue my doctoral degree at University of Miami. And I've always been curious about the people of Florida, the state's history, and looking for places to go. And one day I came across the Murakami Museum, Japanese gardens. And I just wondered why it was located where it was. So learning about the history of the Murakami led me to the Yamato colony, which was an agricultural commune that was founded in the early 19th century. And that got me thinking about immigration in Florida in a more concrete way. And so I started to explore that avenue. And that led me to a lot of different ethnic communities that have formed throughout the state. I think most people are familiar with the Cuban migration in the 60s to Miami. And so the community that has formed there, some people know of Little Havana, also of Little Haiti, for example. But besides that, I don't think people know or are aware of just how many different ethnic groups have been founded and situated throughout the state. So last year, for example, we explored the Greek community in Tarpon Springs. We are going to be covering a lot of different ethnic groups throughout the state, and that has been the genesis of the project. I think there is a perception that all there is to Florida is beaches, golf, and Disney. Right? And as I said, where I grew up, it was important to know about other cultures because we were all in close contact with each other. There was friction sometimes, but at the same time, I think everyone could appreciate the richness that different communities bring to a society. And so there is an appreciation for that I think bringing more awareness to that here in Florida can also serve to help us to understand the communities, to understand the history so that people can really reach out and learn about them and not just see, well, immigration, migration as a negative, right? This is not something new. I know that these days it's in the news quite a lot, but people have been coming to Florida for quite a long time. So I think it's important to underline that history as well, bring more attention to it. What we did in the spring semester is we had 3 events. Two were at the public libraries, one in the Cape Coral Library, and then the other was downtown, the Fort Myers Regional Library, and then we had one on campus. The first event was about the Greeks in Tarpon Springs, and we had a specialist in the field, Dr. Tina Boukavalis, who is also Greek American, and she has a doctorate in, I believe it's folklore. And so she is a specialist in sort of cultural studies in that particular aspect of folklore, but as a member of the community, she lives in Tarpon Springs. Being of Greek heritage, she has intimate knowledge of the culture. So we were able to invite her to speak to us, to the audience about this community. So she gave us a historical rundown, some of the highlights. For example, they have a Greek Epiphany every year in January, and it has become a tourist destination, for example. A lot of people participate. We also screened a Hollywood film, Beneath the 12-Mile Reef, which was about the Greek community in Tarpon Springs, highly romanticized, but still important enough for Hollywood to come calling and actually make a film about that community. And it had wonderful underwater photography of 1950s Florida, which was really amazing as well. The other event, the second event that we had it here on campus, and we had two of the founders of the Island Space Caribbean Museum, which is out on the East Coast in Broward County, and they came to talk to us about the diversity of the population in Broward, but specifically addressing the Caribbean American population there, the Caribbean migration, particularly Jamaican, Haitian, for example, and discuss some of the art that they're collecting, the purpose of the museum, which is a relatively new endeavor, but it is drawing a lot of attention to the Caribbean presence in Florida. Again, a very long presence that is making itself more and more known. Also, we had a photographer, David Muir, who was associated with that particular event. He is, again, a board member of the Island Space Caribbean Museum, and as a photographer, he was able to talk specifically to our photography students about being a photographer, but also making a success of it as a commercial photographer. And then the final event was about the Murakami Museum and the Yamato Colony. And so we had a speaker from the Murakami Museum actually lead a discussion, a virtual discussion, and also do an origami workshop. And this was held at the Fort Myers Regional Library, so this was a lot of fun, something to do for the community. So a lot of people were talking after seeing that about going to the Murakami, right? After seeing the presentation and learning more about it, and making a comment that they had never heard of the Murakami, and now it was something that they would definitely add on their to-do list of places to visit in Florida. So different things like that are sort of inspiring in terms of what people are learning, what they're taking away from the project, but also getting together at events and learning about these places.